Hello and welcome to the writing classroom. You've turned up with your switched on, excited brain and a pen or pencil and a piece of paper. I'm so proud of you for showing up every day, and your commitment is actually paying off. You're here to work on your words and your phrases, and some of you have tried out new structures, and that bit by bit, little by little, every single day is really making the difference. I can really see it in your writing. My name's Mrs. C, and I'm here to make sure your writing is the very best it can be, and every lesson here counts. We've got a jingle. Some of you have got dance routines to it. Some of you are funking it up for me, and some of you have sent me videos of you singing it. Oh, I'm so proud of you. What is our jingle? It sets the tone. It actually sets the pace. Here we go. Pens up. Think at pace. Jot quick. Writing's ace. And it is ace. Right, okay, we are going to get going, and I'm going to remind you of the times. We are lickety split, we always are. We have got 45 seconds to jot. If you're with somebody else, you can chat and jot. That makes a chot. Some of you talk to your mums, your dads, other grown-ups, or other children, and some of you are talking to teddy bears, and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes I ask you to audit and add and look at Mrs. C's words really closely, see which ones you want to borrow, and I give you 1 minute of time to do that. And when I ask you to write, it's always 3 minutes. And some of you are now not only following our structures and guidance, you are deepening the moment, and that is really joyous to see. Okay, well done everybody. So, who has made it to our celebration wall? Well, quite literally inundated I am at the moment, but we have Lisa Wilson, who's in our teacher squad. She has sent me in 3 amazing pieces of work from her year 6 class, but this was particularly standout, stunning. I want to give a big shout out to Jacob. Jacob from Lyme Academy in Watergull. And look at this. It's this structure that is so well crafted. She took a moment to appreciate the sparkling, and this is the word I just love. She took a moment to appreciate the sparkling generations of marine life. A family of crabs, a squad of squid, and a swarm of jellyfish. Look at the use of collective nouns, so impressive. Well done. And who's on the stack? Well, there's a lot to celebrate here too, across a whole range of ages. We have William, year 6 from New Lathes Primary with, look at this sentence. She took a moment to feel grateful for being able to see such a glimmering spread of amphibians and fish alike. Really cleverly and detailed. Excellent work there, William. And Ruan, sent in by Mum Kirsty, you win our Alliteration Award. Look at this. You're only 5. Jiggly jellyfish. I love that. Jiggly jellyfish. I can't stop saying it, in fact. And then we have Tessa Price, who is 7, who's constructed a really good complex sentence using the magic word because. Erin was mesmerised by its beauty, because this was heaven. Well done, Tessa. In fact, well done, everybody who has shown up and is here for excellence. That practice every day is really making a difference. Okay, so you've got 30 seconds on the clock. You know what you have to do. You have to get a piece of paper and fold it in half, or be in a double page spread on a book, and on the left hand side, slice that page into 3 sections using 2 lines, cut each of the learning chunks in half so that we create 2 word banks for learning chunk 1, 2 word banks for learning chunk 2, and 2 word banks for learning chunk 3. And remember, every time we put this on the screen, it's to show you where to write your words. Off you go, everybody. When we write, we always write under the colourful writing rainbow. It guides our thinking. It helps sort and file our ideas. And every time Mrs. C asks you to write, I'm either asking you to write through the powerful lenses of the fantastics, the 9 ideas for writing. I might ask you to showcase some grammar skills, and I'll push our thinking through the grammaristics. Maybe it'll be a challenge for punctuation, like yesterday when we dropped a colon confidently. Or we might be working through the third lens, where we're thinking about writerly devices and techniques like simile or alliteration, like Ruan did with jiggly jellyfish that I just can't stop saying. Every time we write, we have 3 lenses that illuminate our thinking. And today, I'm going to let you know what our steps to success are. If you've done well in your writing, I'm going to help you and guide you to construct a complex sentence. We're then going to have a go at what Ruan did yesterday. We're going to really push that further and build some alliteration into our sentences. And the third lens is going to be all about determiners. Don't worry if you don't know what determiners are. I'll tell you and I'll help you improve your writing. Okay, where are we on our map? We're following the route of the writing and we're taking our central character Erin through the story. We're thinking really carefully about making it empathetic. And this story in particular, we're not rushing. We're really slowing it down. It's very slow, well-crafted writing. And we are now here. We're here on plot point 7. Our story finishes on plot point 9. So Thursday will be our last day of writing and we'll pick something new up on Friday. But here for plot point 7, you can see the trajectory of her journey. Well, it didn't start off well. She fell off the boat and she was really worried. But then she met Black Rock and he reassured her. And now she's at ease, noticing all the marine life. I want to use this time to create the beauty further. So, we're going to now, in plot point 7, spend time thinking about more objects in the sea, more things we would ordinarily find in the seabed, or further up, or floating around, or tangled around rocks. There's a lot to think about, as well as her noticing more and more about the sea creatures. Okay, let's get started. Are you ready, writers? You really are quite remarkable and really impressing me. We are now moving to Learning Chunk 1, Word Bank 1. And what I want to do here is think about verbs. But these verbs that we're going to collect are going to be verbs that start the sentence. It's going to be the first word in a sentence, and it means that we're going to be able to craft up a subordinating clause right at the very beginning. We're going to put that with another clause to make it complex, but I'm going to help you, so don't worry. We're going to think about verbs that end in ing, and we might have to think about some of the words that surround these verbs. What I want Erin to do now is this sense that she's now more comfortable in the water and fish are swimming and swarming around her, and she's going to have to do some sort of moving backwards. Now, moving's okay, but I think I could come up with a better word. In fact, the sort of thing I mean is that it could be quite big fish. Even though she's relaxed now, she has to move backwards. What about hurling? Hurling herself back. Now, I've put herself there. Sometimes I might need it. Sometimes I don't need it. Hurling herself back. Lunging back. Some words sound better with herself. Some words sound actually equally good with or without the herself. It's up to you. We'll talk more about that when we build our sentence. Hurling and lunging and bounding. Bounding back. I'm going to put 45 seconds on the clock now. I want you to jot or chart, but I wonder if you can add 4 to your word bank. Off you go. What we're going to do now is add more words in this synonym family. This is us doing some thesaurus thinking. Some of these words are challenging, but you know they're in the family of jumping. Also, for your own personal development, you might want to look up some of these words after this lesson and learn them and jot them down and keep them forever. I'm going to add another word in this synonym family. She was plunging back. Plunging back. I'm going to put a minute on the clock now and add more words. Tick them if you've got them, or if you like any of mine, you can have them. Okay, we're moving over now to word bank 2, but I'd like you to look closely at these 3 images. It's now Erin taking a slower, more careful look at her surroundings, and these are items and objects and things that are different from the fish. I want you to notice first of all this image. Can you see the scrapes there on the rock? I wonder what caused those. Let's look at this image of the fishing nets all tangled around a rock. And let's look at this image here of the really huge, enormous anchor. These are really intriguing sights, and I really wanted to say more about these. And I want to add some more information. Let's take the scrapes. I'm going to write down scrapes. I'm going to write down fishing nets. I'm going to write down anchor. Scrapes. I'm going to think about, well, what caused the scrapes? Scrapes from lost boats. That's a good idea. Scrapes from sinking treasure. I'm going to write that idea down. Fishing nets. I want to think about adjectives I could use before fishing nets. What about tangled fishing nets? Broken fishing nets. That's interesting because with scrapes I'm adding in extra detail of what caused the scrapes. And here I'm thinking about adjectives for the fishing nets. What about adjectives for the anchor? I'm going to write down tarnished. So that's all that different mottling and colours on it. I'm also going to write down something about size, huge. That's quite tricky. There's a lot to do there. I'm going to put 45 seconds on the clock. Can you say more about the scrapes, the anchor and the fishing nets? Off you go. I got really excited there because I think this is a really creative idea. It's about the colours on the rock or the scraped colour. Look at this idea. The scrapes from mermaids' nails. Oh, that's really clever, isn't it? Mermaids, they belong to the mermaids. Mermaids' nails. Adrift boats. Adrift ships. Yes, that could have caused the scraping. They weren't meant to be there and they hit the rock and the colour came off. Fishing nets. Should we do some audit and adding? Right, let's move to writing side together. And remember, we're going to build a complex sentence. We're going to start with a subordinating clause that can't stand on its own. And we are going to lean on our verbs that end in ing. And what you're going to think about as you watch Mrs. C do the writing is, actually, when I choose my verb, does it need herself after it? Let's start writing. Okay. Oh, my words haven't come down with me. I know. Let's move these pictures and I'll put my writing over here because I always need my words near me. I started to panic then. All of that thinking before you write is really worth it. Okay, here we go. I'm looking at my ing words, bounding back. I like that. Flinging herself back. Flinging back. They both work. Jumping back. Let's start there. Jumping back. Now I've written that. I'm looking at hurling. I think I'm gonna change it. Hurling herself back. Hurling back. Hurling herself back. That sounds better with herself there. Some things in writing are quite subtle and you just have to say them aloud to yourself, either in your head or you can actually say them aloud. Hurling herself back into the water. There's that clause. I'm going to put in a comma to separate it. And then I'm going to start with the subject, Erin. Erin. Now, what I'm going to do here is zoom into all the other things that she notices that aren't fish. I'm going to zoom into the scrapes and the nets and the anchor. Erin noticed scrapes. I'm going to put scrapes on the rock. Scrapes on the rock from adrift ships. Tangled fishing nets. I need a comma here, almost doing it like a list. Tangled fishing nets, twisted fishing nets, forgotten fishing nets. I like that. Forgotten fishing nets. And the anchor's going to be the last thing in my sentence, so I'm going to put an and in there. And a sharp, rusty anchor. A huge, tarnished anchor. I like huge, tarnished anchor. Now, some of you will do very well with that in 3 minutes, and you can deepen. Don't plot push, remember. But if you're going to deepen, maybe think of other objects, other items in the sea. You could think of shells, broken bottles, shipwrecks. You've got 3 minutes to impress me with your writing. Off you go, writers. Every time you come to the classroom, you learn a new word, you learn a new phrase, you try out a new structure. And isn't that great? We're going to now move to learning chunk 2, and we're going to write through the lens of alliteration. We are crafting something really beautifully, and we're not rushing our writing. We're slowing it right down because we are great, remarkable writers. Okay, so now as we think about alliteration, we're going to bring the fish and other marine life into play. And there are some animals we've looked at before, and there are some that are different. Our focus 5 are these. Let's have a look at them. We have a pufferfish. And we can see why it's called a pufferfish, because it puffs up when it's in danger to look like a scary, spiky weapon, and predators stay away. We've got here the featherback. And if you look closely at the featherback, it's got feathery fins as part of its underbelly. We've had crabs before, but they're so interesting, we've brought them back. And we've got a mud skipper who hangs at the bottom of the seabed, sucking up all the remains and debris. And then finally, the absolute adorable seahorses. And some of you wrote about a herd of seahorses yesterday using that collective noun. So they're our focus fish and sea life creatures. And what we're going to do now is actually, this is different. We're going to work across 2 word banks at once. We're going to dance across word bank 1 and word bank 2. And what's going to join the word banks together? Our fish or sea creature. This is what I mean. Watch closely. I'm going to think of an adjective to describe the pufferfish with the same sound at the beginning, and then a movement of the pufferfish with the same sound at the beginning of a verb. This is what I mean. The peculiar pufferfish was pushing through the sea. I'm going to have a go at doing featherback now. The fancy featherback. The fancy featherback was flitting in the depths. The colourful crab. The colourful crab was clambering on the rocks. Do you know what I've been thinking as I've been testing that out? Because we did collective nouns yesterday, I just want us to think about that fish or creature as one. So what I'm going to do, look, is I'm going to take the S off there, and the S off there, and the S off there, and put the E back in for my seahorse. So think about one creature. The peculiar pufferfish was puffing, pushing, or puffing. What gave you one there? The fancy featherback was flitting. A colourful crab was clambering. Let me see if I can do mud skipper. The magnificent, or let me change the colour of my pen here. The magnificent, quite a tricky word to spell. Be brave, Mrs. C. The magnificent mud skipper was munching on the debris on the seabed, and the scintillating seahorse, this is a bit tricky, was skimming. I'm going to give you 45 seconds. I'm going to challenge you to see if you can think of ideas for 2 of your favourites. Off you go. Thinking of alliterative words is really tricky. You might think of a really good adjective or a really good verb, and you think that would be better with the ornate wrasse, or that would be better with the fire samurai fish. Don't forget those ideas, jot them down, because you could change the creatures. I'm now going to audit and add, and if you like any of them, you can add them into your word bank 1 and 2. Wow, that was quick, wasn't it? I'm going to put another 45 seconds on the clock because we've got lots of ideas and I think we need a bit more time. I know I do. So straight back in to a audit and add. When you're being a jotter, sometimes your handwriting goes a bit wibbly and wobbly and messy, and that's okay because those jottings are your jottings as a writer, and as long as you can read them, it doesn't have to be perfect. They're there to support you. And I know some of you have got some great ideas. We are now going to move over to writing side, and we're going to let alliteration illuminate our writing. We're going to drench it in the same sounds. So come with me now as we think about how we're going to use some of these creatures to showcase that device. Here we go. I've already used Erin in the last sentence, so I'm going to use the pronoun she so I don't repeat myself. She caught sight. Now, I like all of these creatures. I'm not really sure which one to use, but I do think the pufferfish is peculiar and patterned. Oh, I do like it. She caught sight of a peculiar pufferfish. I'm going to look at my ideas for the verbs now. A peculiar pufferfish pushing through the ocean. A peculiar pufferfish pulsing in the sea, pulsating in the depths. I'm going to put pulsating. pulsating in the seaweed. I could have plankton because it's even more precise. A pufferfish pulsating in the plankton, and then I'm extending that alliteration a little bit more. Plankton. She caught sight of a peculiar pufferfish pulsating in the plankton. I'm going to include now another creature, maybe the crab, comma. So I focus on some new thinking here. I made a mistake with crab and I put an E just here, clumsy, because it's got such a dominant E vowel sound, but it actually doesn't include the letter E. It's created by the letter Y. Clumsy crab, no E, remember Mrs. C. Clumsy, a clumsy crab. Let's put that in to make sure the reader knows it's just one. A clumsy crab clambering near the clams. Oh, extended it a bit there. And then this is going to be my last one. I do like the mud skipper, but isn't the seahorse delightful? Near the clams. And let me tell you about this word. Celestial. It does need to be in alliteration because it's got the same sound, even though a different letter. It starts with the letter C, but it's got the sound celestial, seahorse. Do you know what celestial means? It means heavenly. Isn't that just joyous? And a celestial, I don't know. I like this idea that they're quite secretive and shy, and a secretive seahorse. And a secretive seahorse surging in the sea. I'm going to read that back because it's quite complicated. I might have made a mistake. She caught sight of a peculiar pufferfish pulsating in the plankton, a clumsy crab clambering near the clams, and a secretive seahorse surging in the sea. Okay, everybody, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to really show me how you can lace your writing with the same sound. Off you go. I've just looking closely at my work here and reading it again, and I've been thinking about actually how a seahorse moves. They're so delicate, they're so fragile, and they tend to sway and bob. And so this sort of surging seems too powerful. Don't be afraid to edit and improve all the time. I'm going to change that to swaying, and a secretive seahorse swaying in the sea. It seems more accurate to the actual movement it does. Okay, let's move to learning chunk 3. And actually, we're going to stay on the theme of sound, and I'll tell you why in a moment. We're going to look really closely at determiners. And determiners are little words that introduce nouns. They are words like the and a and an. They're ever so small. Some writers hardly notice them. I'm going to tell you something very interesting about a and an. Some people think it's about when we use those determiners before a noun that begins with a vowel or a consonant. So some people say, well, if we have an angelfish, we are going to use, or let me just put a circle around that so you know what I mean. If we use the noun angelfish, it's got to start with the determiner an. Well, that's halfway there. It's about the vowel sound. It's not just the letters. Vowels make vowel sounds, but some words start with a vowel sound that don't start with a vowel. Look at the word hour. It's got an hour sound at the beginning because it's got a silent letter H. Hour. And so what we'd actually write is an hour passed by. So it is often the vowel as a letter, but mainly it's the vowel sound. When you are writing your nouns in stories or in non-fictions, you do have to look closely at the determiners. Let's have a practice over here. This is the sort of thing I mean. We've got an albino shark. That begins with a vowel sound. Because it begins with a vowel sound, we don't want those two vowels too near to each other. It makes it hard for us to sound out. So we say an albino shark. Angelfish starts with an A vowel sound. So I'm going to put an angelfish. An octopus. What about koi carp? Koi carp begins with a consonant sound. Because it's a consonant sound, I can put a koi carp. Something like unique, a unique sight. This needs, even though it's a vowel, it only needs the a because unique. It sounds like a consonant at the beginning. So it's a little bit tricky. But what I want you to do now in your 45 seconds of jotting, look at these other words. Eel, jellyfish, alligator gar, escalar, flying fish, anchovy and anglerfish. Have a look at those and see if they need the determiner a or an. Off you go. I'm going to add in the determiners. You can watch me do it. And as I add them in, you can tick off all the ones you got right. Maybe you can add in more fish. And as you add them in your list, think about, is that an or an a determiner? Off we go. Oh, well done. Look at that little bit of grammar teaching, a little bite-sized chunk that makes us better every day. I want to move now to Word Bank 2. This is our last one on Learning Chunk 3, and I want to think about how adverbs, because I want to finish this sentence with movement. I want to create a contrast, maybe think about quickly or slowly. This is the sort of thing I mean, where you can really control the speed of what the images look like. We're going to put some fish in this scene. You're going to be able to show me in the writing that you know whether it's a determiner a or an, and you can make it slow or quick. I've got an idea for an adverb ending in ly, a how adverb that represents fast. I'm going to write this idea down rapidly. I've also got an idea for slow, gradually. I've got another idea I'm going to add in there while it's popped into my head. Lazily. I think there'd be certain fish who would be moving really lazily. I'm going to challenge you now, jotters. Can you add 2 more into the fast department and 2 more into the slow department? Off you go. You're really good at that. When I add my words in now, watch closely to which ones you'd like to borrow and put in your vocabulary vault. But also, will you please star ones you feel connected to that you might deploy in your writing? Off we go, audit and adding. Okay, let's pick up all the skills we've learnt now and think about putting fish into this scene, thinking about the right determiners and looking at the vowel sounds or consonant sounds at the beginning of the fish species and types, and then also making it move quickly or slowly. That's up to you. I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm really not sure what fish types to use. I've already used an octopus, actually, and I've already used a jellyfish. So I want to make sure I use different ones. I've used flying fish as well. I've not used an eagle ray. I've not used a koi carp. I think I'm going to think about those too. I want you to include two. In fact, maybe you could use more. Maybe you could do a quick scene and a slow scene. I'm going to do a slow scene. An eagle ray. Because I've chosen eagle ray and it's got a vowel sound, I'm going to start with the determiner an. An eagle ray. And then I'm going to also have another fish with the eagle ray to move slowly, and a koi carp. It's got a consonant sound. A koi carp. And a koi carp. I'm going to be really looking at that closely when I read your work. Followed. And then I'm going to drop my slow adverb. Followed lazily behind. Followed calmly behind. Followed deliberately. They're all good. Graciously. Followed graciously. You know, koi carp are really beautiful, highly patterned. They're like treasures, orange treasures glimmering in the depths. An eagle ray and a koi carp followed graciously behind. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Some of you will do well with that. If you want to deepen, maybe set up a quick scene and a slow scene, or a slow scene and a quick, or quick, quick, slow, slow. Off you go, writers. Oh, that's going to be good, isn't it? That rhythm of the writing, quick, slow, taking a lot of control around it. Do you know, your commitment to turn up every day has meant over time that your work, the very craft of writing, has improved. And those people who show up every day, I'm learning your names, I'm learning your teachers' names, I'm learning your mums and dads' names. Okay, I'm going to read my work back, and remember to read your work back, the whole of this plot point, so you're certain of all of your choices. I know there's a few things that I still want to change here, because remember I turned it into a clumsy crab, and I added in, I got rid of that E. That I keep making that silly mistake with clumsy, because it's such a dominant E sound, but it doesn't include an E, and I've got to remember that. Scrapes, and then I added in on the rock. And I definitely had my seahorses swaying, not surging. These are all the changes I made through editing to improve it. Let me read it back now, see if I like it. Hurling herself back into the water, Erin noticed scrapes on the rock from adrift ships, forgotten fishing nets, and a huge tarnished anchor. She caught sight of peculiar pufferfish pulsating in the plankton, a clumsy crab clambering near the clams, and, oh, spelling mistake. Look at that, secretive. I don't need that. Look. Don't worry if you make spelling mistakes. Secretive. Let me go back to the beginning and read that again. She caught sight of peculiar pufferfish pulsating in the plankton, a clumsy crab clambering near the clams, and secretive seahorses swaying in the sea. An eagle ray and a koi carp followed graciously behind. I can't wait to read your work. And remember, I can only see your work if you show it to me. And how do you get me to see it? Well, I'm out there in social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. If you at Jane Considine Education, I will find it. It's great if I know your age and your first name, and grown-ups. Oh, do you know, it's sometimes the grown-ups who don't do what they're told, even though all the children do. I need a clear photograph. I need to be able to read it. I care about nothing more than words, and I want to be able to read them. So make sure you're not shaky. Well done. Get your work into me, and you might find yourself on the celebration wall tomorrow. Same time, same place at 9:45. See you then.